Here we are. It's episode 4 of Unknown Mysteries. Ghosts of the Tower of London. Just 1 second. Here we go. Just 1 second.
Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London is steeped in history and has occupied a major part in royal life since it was constructed by William the Conqueror almost 1,000 years ago. The tower has been the backdrop to royal life, beheadings, scandals and political turmoil for centuries. But did you know about the ghosts? Read on to learn about the haunting experiences reported by guards and guests alike. One of the most famous deaths to take place at the tower was that of Queen Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII and mother to the future Queen Elizabeth I, had failed to produce a male heir and was later accused of adultery by her husband and sentenced to death. She was beheaded on Tower Green on May 19, 1536. There are several memorable accounts that the ghost of Anne Boleyn has been spotted at the Tower of London several times, almost 500 years after her death. A poignant example was in 1864 when Captain J.D. Dundas was living in the Tower of London. One day he noticed a yeoman warder acting strangely whilst he was standing in the courtyard where Anne Boleyn had been beheaded. He appeared to challenge something, which Dundas recalled looked like a whitish, female figure sliding towards the soldier. The guard charged through the form with his bayonet, then fainted. He was only saved from a prison sentence because Dundas was a witness. Another interesting account is that a figment of Queen Elizabeth I's cousin, Arbella Stuart, can still be seen in the Queen's house, where she starved whilst imprisoned for marrying without consent. Other reported ghost sightings include the small bodies of the princes in the tower. The young royals were the sons of King Edward IV, and it is speculated that their uncle, King Richard III, then the Duke of Gloucester and Lord Protector, had his nephews killed so he could become the king. Their bodies have never been officially identified, but during the reign of King Charles II, the skeletons of 2 children were found in a box under a staircase in the tower, and with the belief that it was the princes, were interred at Westminster Abbey on the orders of the king. They remain there to this day. Over the years, guests and guards alike have claimed to have seen 2 young boys, dressed in medieval-style clothing, playing on the green outside the White Tower. Others believe they have captured photographs of the young ghosts whilst looking around the exhibits. Most peculiar of all, however, is a tale from the yeoman warders who guard the tower. As early as the year 1210, wild animals were kept at the Tower of London, often referred to as the menagerie. There are records of elephants, leopards, lions and even a polar bear, who used to go fishing in the River Thames, living within the tower's walls. The story goes that in 1816, that the ghost of a huge black bear was spotted near the Martin Tower by a yeoman warder on night duty. The guard was terrified and struck the figure on the head with his bayonet, only to find the weapon went straight through and into the door of the tower. It is said the guard died of shock a few hours later. The bear has since been nicknamed Old Martin, and his skin and skull were found at the Natural History Museum in London, but was since returned to the tower to be exhibited.
Well, there you go. That's this. Some more. One more story coming up on this episode of Unknown Mysteries about the Tower of London. Just 1 second. The Faceless Young Woman. 1 second.
In 1957, Welsh Guardsman Johns was on sentry duty at the Salt Tower when he encountered a shapeless form with the face of a young woman, perhaps one of the many women who suffered a terrible fate at the Tower of London.
Wow, 1 second. Lady Jane Grey. Just 1 second.
Known as the English Queen with the shortest reign, Protestant Lady Jane Grey became queen after the death of King Edward VI, son of King Henry VIII. Edward named Lady Jane Grey as his heir in his last will, over his half-sister Mary. A pawn in royal power games, The King's protector, John Dudley, had arranged for the 16-year-old Lady Jane Grey to marry his son, Lord Guildford Dudley. On Edward's death on the 6th of July 1553, Lady Jane Grey became Queen, a title she was to hold for just 9 days before the Council decreed that Catholic Mary was the true ruler of England. Lady Jane Grey and her husband Dudley were executed on the infamous Tower Green in 1554. The white figure of Jane is said to haunt the battlements of the Tower of London to this day.
Well, there you go. That's episode 4 done. Episode 5 will be out in 2 weeks.